putting some numbers together and looking at what we end up with. And especially, and I think this is probably most important, is having a good understanding of what balance we need between the common pool to support some sort of like DAO operations runway, as well as token engineering projects for, I don't know if the right number is 6 months, but I threw in 6 months here. So just to quickly go through the agenda, it's the latest funding, the latest estimate for working group DAO operations. We could open it up and go into it too. And then just some questions around token engineering project funding. I threw out a call for help in the Stewards Telegram group. Was anyone able to sort of get some estimate for how much funding has been requested already by token engineering projects?
I just saw that and I'm jumping into the forum now.
Okay, cool.
I prepared a document that had that amount. So if you give me 2 minutes, I can tell you the number, because I had a document with all those numbers already.
Awesome. And I have an estimate for TE Academy as well. So I think it's a new estimate. So if you factored in TE Academy in the previous one, we can subtract that. And then the initial buy-in, and then what are we thinking in terms of like how much do we want to make sure we have in the commons pool available for operations and funding for projects? What does that mean for the reserve pool? What does that mean for the token price? What other parameters do we need to think about or that are factored in here that are impacted or may have impact? And then lastly, like, did we miss anything? And then there's a bunch of stuff that we always have to talk about. So leftover time is going to be filled with other ideas too. Maybe it's just worth, everyone, if you want to take a minute and read the comments from Nate. He has some cogent points in here. Okay, how are we willing to do that? Okay, this is sort of the subject for like the budgeting for working groups. And then funding group proposals. This includes paid services such as websites, hotspot, and other tools in order to be successful in the long term, making sure we build it. Okay, got it. Cool. So maybe I'll get us started by looking at these latest numbers. It looks like it's 180 now. I have to say, Stewards and Communitas, the 3-month estimates are both very high. So I welcome some pushback on both of those and would love to go through them in more detail and see if that's reasonable at all. And then these are the figures that I don't know if any have changed yet. So these are, I don't know, I think all the other ones, all of these others are still, where am I going? Sort of all of these other are still in advice process in each of the working groups. So these are rough numbers. All right.
Regarding the proposals, is almost 400K, 385K solicited in proposals without the academy.
Okay. And I guess we don't know what duration that is.
No, I didn't add the timing for of any of these ones. I have only the categorization of if it is education, if it is research, or if it is whatever.
Cool. Very excellent. Thanks so much for that. All right. Griff, can I pass to you to help us shape our thinking around this, and especially how we should be thinking about the commons and reserve pool given these numbers?
Well, I think Nate said it pretty well, right? Can you not hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Sorry.
Okay. I think Nate said it pretty well. It's this opening price versus commons tribute, and it's the how volatile and how much money do we want to reward hatchers with the opening price? How volatile do we want our bonding curve to be? How much slippage is acceptable for our community? and how much money do we want to put into the common pool. I don't think that there's I think it's fair for us to make a suggested number and just say, hey, a common pool less than 500K or whatever we say doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think that's okay. If we're saying that like 200K is going to overhead just in 3 months alone, that might right there be a sign that we need to like push hard on requesting it. But I don't know that there's so much. Unless there's specific questions, I feel like anyone who's played with the dashboard can see this relationship pretty well. And if you want, I can play with the dashboard. But I think more importantly, it's just like brainstorming ideas of how we want to go about making this suggestion. Okay, go to the bonding curve, and it's the opening price and commons tribute, and that's it. So like right now with these settings, you get 630 wrapped XDAI at launch, and with a small, I would consider the other thing that's interesting is the entry tribute. Having a high entry tribute at launch that we can change later allows more of that 250K to enter the bonding curve. So, you turn that to 30%, and you get a pretty nice chunk right there that goes to the from the initial buy. Can you hit launch at the bottom below reserve balance? A little higher to the left. It's lower. Yes. Thanks. So this entry tribute of 30% sends 75K to the common pool. Kind of nice. And all the people who are initially buying, the hatchers are sending 50% of their money to the bonding pool. With a high entry tribute, we're sending the second round of hatchers, you could say, are sending 30%.
And 75% automatically goes because of the initial buy-in, right? That's what
it's not 75%. It's 75,000. Yeah. Yeah, because that's the first tokens that are minted, and then all tokens after that are minted also are sending a nice fat stack over to the initial buy. And then really everyone who is buying those tokens is strategic partners. The other option that we have is with our initial buy, we'll have a bunch of TEC, and when we sell those to investors, 100% of that money should go to the common pool. That's where we would collect money. Now, of course, not all of it we're going to choose to sell. Some of it we'll use for liquidity as a DAO, but making sure that we're looking for ways that can fund the common pool is going to be important.
Okay, maybe we pass it around then and see if anyone else has thoughts or comments they want to share or questions to be answered, because now is the perfect time to do that. Do you want to pass?
Yeah, let's throw it to Chewy. Or if Chewy's... Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of context. Tam, is this regarding like the total amount that is going to come out of the funding pool?
So this is around the funding estimates that we have currently. So we have an estimate of 180K for 3 months of working group funding currently. So about 360K for 6 months. And projects, TE projects that are, I guess, 385 plus 25, right? About 410 in terms of being requested for immediate, like the TE projects that are already made requests on the form. Some of these may no longer still need funding, so it's not a hard number, but it's just an estimate that we can use to sort of go by. And then the question is with these numbers that we have in hand now, some considerations that we want to understand better when we, or do you have any questions around, or do you want to share any of your points of view about what that means for what we should estimate for the common pool and the reserve pool, and as Griff has just also shared, the entry token being a little higher to get funding in earlier rather than later. Any points of consideration that are worth mentioning now that we have some rough estimates to work with?
Okay. Well, for starters, I think that the COMS funding proposal is going to be a little bit higher. I was just seeing that the estimate was like for 3 months, and it was for like, I think 21 grand or something like that. But yes, it's going to be for 6 months, and probably it'll get like closer to like 50 or 60. However, I'll try to, I mean, of course, I'll try to like adapt it so that it's like fair with other working groups. But yeah, I feel that other than that, and the amount that I mean, I like the 40% tribute, and I feel that it could give enough room for this to happen. But yeah, I guess I like for now I'll keep listening to everybody else's opinion, and I'll try to strengthen my position on this in the next days.
Okay, can we run through a scenario where we say, you know, anything less than 500K doesn't make sense, and we end up just setting it at 500K? Maybe we could even make that scenario here. And then we end up funding all of the DAO working groups and TE projects for 3 months, but then our commons pool runs dry. Then our plan is more people entering and exiting the commons pool and finding other funding sources to sustain DAO operations and other TE projects.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think that if we are running low, first off, we can't run that low on money because of the way conviction voting is set up. You can only spend the spending limit. I haven't seen very many proposals say, let's spend more than 30% of our total funds. Well, we will have trouble requesting large projects, and I think the means of production, there's lots of ways to make money in crypto, and we have token engineers hanging out. So we should really consider trying to get some NFT projects going, some like other things that can funnel money into the common pool, and people can feel like they're supporting us. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, yeah, I think that all of the proposals should have like a component of sustainability, and that would be really good to not like have a funding 3 months and 3 months and 3 months constantly, but to having like an idea that the project will be bootstrapped with that initial support, and that the project can also sustain by itself over time. And all of the working groups should be thinking about this, because like this is something that I draw from my experience working either both in the public sector and in the private sector. And when I was working in the private sector, every activity was like, hey, how can this activity generate income for us? But when I was working in the public sector, everything was like, hey, how are we going to expand the money that we have? So yeah, I think that each working group and each proposal should have a component of sustainability.
Okay. You mean for token engineering projects too?
Yeah, like not funding always the same, and like only funding work, but funding ideas. And I like how Griff once said it, like entrepreneurship. I liked also to see it a little bit like this, like, okay, we have this enterprise with this organization, and how are we going to sell our services to the world?
Okay. Cool. Anything else you want to add, Wonka? For consideration or?
Yeah, maybe I will go to the part that I wanted to share, and is that I already created a Gitcoin grant for Gravity that we are going to manage with a multisig, and I will repeat the laser tag process to select the custodians of that multisig in the forum, like having sets of people. And yeah, my idea is this, that this can also help fund Gravity and at a long term.
Okay, cool. Can we finish sort of the going around with this idea of the funding that we know we will be requested in the next 3 months, and any considerations for the parameters we need to make sure can sustain that? Eduardo, do you have anything that you want to share?
Yeah, sorry for the cat noise in the background if you hear it. Yeah, so basically, right now I don't know how this is gonna be achievable. I have zero clue, but I feel that there it's a little bit what Juanca mentioned. Like, if we are funding this for these working groups, which is any amount of money that we're going to spend on them, it could be nice to that every working group have at least an idea or a suggestion of us or a project or something that could be generating income back. Not mandatory, but I think it could be nice to have that idea around that. Not wait until the third month to think, oh, 3 months have passed. Now how we are gonna generate income, We already have, at least most of us, since January, February, to know how the working group worked and so on. But I think we have enough, at least working group experience, to know how it could be possible, and not wait until the third month of this to achieve it. So yeah, that's it. And I will pass it on to Libby.
Thanks. Yeah, I follow along with the thoughts so far. Just one thing, I was talking to Christopher this morning, is that we have a set amount for the rewards that are coming from the initial buy-in, and they should last from some amounts we were thinking around 6 months, and that would give like a very low rate to praise already. So we're thinking of like how to clear out these expectations that people might have, because we don't have such abundant resources now, because we're basically in debt again with the praise. So what we were thinking that was going to last for the following 6 months, it would go, we would run out already if we use for the debt. So we might have to lower the amount we were thinking for the debt, and then we'll have probably less than half or half of that for continuing moving forward. And then the budget we have for 6 months now is 80K. So maybe in around 3 months, we would have to ask the DAO for something like that again. I'm not sure who hasn't gone yet. I think Septimus.
Yeah, thanks, David. Yeah, I think like this 80K are probably going to be more in the future. Like the price of the TC is going to go up, especially because of the price floor. I take the time to say TC Casino. It's very good proposal for that. I mean, it have a lot of money on the funding pool, and it generates a lot of speculation to fund the, to give him money in the common pool. And yeah, I mean that's one of the big concerns I'm having with this, like with the commons, like the long term sustainability. Like so far, what we were saying, like I really like what Juan said, like about every project and every working group should somehow be sustainable. That's how you bring sustainability in the long term, because otherwise, like yeah, we get I mean, unless you want to do a lot of projects, but I don't feel like this is an economy. Like I feel it's more like, I don't know, but not an economy. Like if you need donations to survive. Yeah, I really like what Juan says, and I would second that. I'll pass it to Raider.
Hey, Ray.
Zap Shilling Casino.
Ryder, are you there? Maybe not. How about Durgadas?
I am here.
Hello, you're there.
Okay, mute button. Hi. Can you tell me why you were saying my name? I'm all over my house looking for batteries right now for my keyboard.
No problem. And maybe you could just give it a pass if you're weren't able to pay attention for the last few minutes. But it's just we are talking about the funding that we know we will need, estimates for the funding we'll need for DAO operations, working group funding, TE proposals that have already made requests on the forum, and figuring out what that means for the proposals and the debates that are coming up. So some points that we should have in the back of our minds as we're evaluating and debating proposals.
I was mostly thinking about how cool it is that there's a recorded thing talking about this, and how we're like actively saying we're in debt because of praise, and how that's accessible information to everyone. So that's where my mind was at. I was like, wow, this is great. And also I like normalizing debt in this new token environment, because it can be really scary, and it's been really scary at SourceCred. So that's actually where my mind was at while I was listening. And I'm not a steward, and that's what I have to add right now.
Cool. I pass it to Durgadas, maybe.
Yeah, well, like with most things, I'm mostly just sitting here going, it's cool how you guys operate, and to know that you're thinking of all the stuff that I don't want to think about. So thank you. That's pretty much all I have to say.
All right, cool. Well, then I guess, did we miss anything? Is there anything else to go over, or should we call this subject closed?
I just want to say, like, remember, Girl Scouts don't get that much donations. They sell cookies, and I really think that we can come up with some good projects to, like, create funding for this that we can fund, and we can still have also some projects that don't make funding. And I think that is okay. Like I think that there should be, of course, a dimension of like for a project to pass to the TEC, it will look a lot better if that there is a way that it's like, going to actively bring funding to the common pool. But I think it's okay to have some groups, that are not, it's just like the janitor at the office is never going to be able to, say why, he's helping everyone get money, in a way, but he's not bringing in clients, and that doesn't mean his work isn't useful. Yeah, Ryder?
I'm an idea person, and I would love to know, like, the best, if I come up with an idea, like, I think we did bring up NFTs, but if I come across an idea, where's the best place to bring a charity? Like, if I want to network a bunch of artists to donate their NFTs and like have a competition between them or like whatever, like, I like to network people, and I can have an idea, and that's like what I have to offer to this. And then that was a very loud noise. Where do I come to do that? Which meeting in TEC?
I mean, I think it would start, at least from my perspective, to start with a forum post, and then you bring it to almost any call, probably. But the Stewards call is a good one.
The forum post is not. It's not. I'm not. When I say I'm an idea person and a gathering people person, it excludes doing the documentation. Like, I'm not saying I'm going to come with the full idea. I need like support. And are there other people who want to like collaborate on a funding idea that includes like BIPOC artists and sharing some of the income? Or like, is there a group doing that? Do we have a funding group? Like, or do we need one that's specifically for that? I've heard you guys talk about grants and different people who are like Gitcoin and like, right? People like own those relationships, I think, but like, do we have, that group? I am still really new here. I still feel new when I'm trying to understand these things. So I ask these things like very, what's that word? I'm being like true.
Look, I think actually a funding group, or not, maybe it's not a funding group, like a group that gets together once or twice a month and just, brainstorms on funding ideas is brilliant, actually.
And I know, and like some of these ideas come from and are inspired by Aloysius, and I know they have big ideas for this. And so yeah, that's just something. And so like maybe talking to Communitas about that too, since that's a lot of people power, I feel like that's kind of what that is generating in that group from reading their notes.
Yeah, it could be too. I actually like the idea of the stewards because I think all of the working groups, we don't know where the idea could fit in any of the working groups actually. So I sort of like the idea of all the stewards participating in it.
And the stewards are stewards from each working group, right?
And all just stewards in the TEC, whether they're leading a working group or not.
Okay, I still think I know exactly what stewards are. It's like what each person's like role is yet. Unless there's somewhere I can look at someone's profiles or bios or something, maybe that would do it. I don't know. I'm still yeah.
Stewards are the people who carry the knowledge of the TEC. So most of us have been around for a long time. We know what's going on in all of the working groups. We know who is working on what. We know how things operate inside the TEC. Yeah.
And then there's people like me and Julius who show up, and then we're like learning from you guys. Okay, I think I get it.
Yeah, cool. All right. So maybe I love this idea, and it sort of kicks us off on this, like, maybe we have a few moments of brainstorming ideas now. So as Wonka and Septimus and Griff are saying, it's probably not a wrong time to start thinking about this. So thinking of working groups as profit centers and not cost centers anymore. So maybe we pass around and, I don't know, share if anyone has any thoughts or ideas about it. The NFT thing came up a few more times. Services has come up. I think that, I've been mulling around this in my head of, I'll start if that's okay, around, packaging what we've been doing in the TEC is something that we can use to help other DAOs who want to implement the same kind of like working groups and stewardings and scrums and sprint events and all of this thing is something that could be not like how do I say it, packaged, consulted, deployed in other DAOs. It could be interesting. It could go nowhere, but it's something that's been on the back of my mind too. Maybe I'll pass to Olivia. If you want to share any of your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I was excited to think about this because some conversations we were having the other day about services, and just a lot of people have been reaching out to ask for guidance, like in the general chats and the DMs, people saying like, hey, I'm starting my economy. what would be some steps, or what are some cultural practices you think should exist in a community, or how could we use this dashboard to play around with our own economy and learn from the steps that are here. So I think we have developed the working groups in a way that all of them have a center of expertise that is very alive, and that there could be some type of, like, I don't know if paying directly for the services, but maybe, I don't know, I don't understand nothing about that, but maybe creating some type of staking pools where people from other communities could join and stake their I don't know, the tokens they have in their communities, or wrap DexDai for a certain amount of, like, learning period, and that could become so sorry if I'm talking like so much bullshit, but that could become like a liquidity pool somehow, like having a place where people come and bring value that stays there temporarily, that it's not like expending their resources, but that pool of value could create something within the working groups. I don't know, ideas of how to, like, use this pools of expertises we are creating to attract other communities, develop this DAO-to-DAO relationships, and bring revenue from them. And I'll pass to Edu.
Yeah, I mean, I have never realized how people are lost in building economies until I onboarded people. And I feel there is this need, and I think there is this concept of the token, of course, and I feel that the field of education, and what just exploring what Levi said, like, if we just tie the concept of, yes, we can provide you a service, or we can provide you certain guidelines or certain cultural practices and how to implement them, and in exchange you help us moving forward the token engineering community by purchasing the token. I don't know, but, like, like this idea that our token could represent also our cultural values and our economic value, not internally only in the community, but also externally. So the token for us could be this also a service kind of. You buy the token in agreement with us, and then in exchange you get cultural practices. In exchange you get certain guidelines that they're just basic, like the academic course kind of thing, but adapted. So I think that's something, that's one end, which is for me more DAO related. And there is, of course, the space for how we channel the knowledge that we have here. And in this case, for example, with Nate, we talk about the podcast as the first starting point to see how we can sort of bring this knowledge outside to a broader kind of spectrum, and how we can, in the midterm, generate income out of that. But I think knowledge, like, for me, it goes back to the same thing, knowledge. And people doesn't have access to structured knowledge regarding a lot of stuff besides the academy, to my knowledge. And then, or for example, there was this course that we saw a few weeks ago of how to DAOs, and we saw how many people came just because of that. We saw how many people came just through participation in the Bankless podcast, So people are hunting for knowledge, and there is not so many places to go for it. So I think that's something we can generate profit in a way that it's ethical, and the way that we are not, just using or asking for a pile of cash without, it makes sense. It's ethical for us. So yeah, that's just exploring a little bit of Livy said, and I will pass it to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying it, but I actually think the idea of the cultural build itself is such a radical idea that I don't know that we fully appreciate it, because we're doing it a lot. And all the other DAOs that I participate in struggle like crazy with their culture. They don't know what to do. And not only do they struggle with all the stuff I do, but they also don't know what unifying framework in which to contextualize all of that work. And so I'm just super aware of our, I mean, that's a massive value proposition. If you were my client and I was a professional like marketer trying to talk to you about what your main value proposition is two things. One is the sort of advancing token engineering thing, but the other is this absolutely radical, amazing idea of the cultural build. And I think, you know, it's much bigger deal than you might imagine. So that's it.
Pass it to Chewy.
Thanks, Sam. I don't know. I don't really know what to say that could be valuable for this. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I mean, since we're gonna have a bunch of creatives in comms, I remember that Lily had this idea for like putting out like an NFT collection or something like this as an additional activity. So yeah, I mean it might work, but right now I'm in a very like exciting phase with new comms contributors in which they are actually gonna start you know, like getting the culture side of TEC. So as Dergaras was saying, like having like a right framework for these moments can be like really critical at this point. And however, I would like to like wait a little bit before pushing ideas like this, like the NFTs. But yeah, I mean, sorry, I wish I could just yeah, share something of more value, but yeah, for now I'm just listening.
And I will just point out that I've recommended people in other DAOs stop and take a year to do a cultural build, and I just did that again this morning. So I mean, I'm not just saying that this is a thing that we do. This is actually the thing I'm saying. Look at this group of people. They did this, and this is, you know. So anyway, so I'm just actively promoting that too. So
Cool. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I just want to throw some things out there. I do think that there are opportunities to use our community building and advanced token engineering at the same time. Like the challenge that we have is there's the common stack. Common stack is really the cultural build. You know, the common stacks. That's the, and the common stack is going to be the common stack is more of the consultant to help other people build their DAOs. And I would hope the TEC would focus on building their DAO, building the TEC, and actually advancing token engineering and finding ways that, you know, it's like maybe helping to consult with, you know, token engineering, like academy to build community there. That makes sense. But helping to build community around Uniswap doesn't, you know? And making sure that we are always staying on focus of advancing token engineering is really important to me. And then the other opportunities for funding, you know, that just connecting the dots. We have a strong network, and if maybe we can make a deal with Block Science or one of these other groups that if they get a referral from us from the TEC, that they, you know, someone comes in and is asking for support, and then we refer them, making kind of referral agreements so that we get kickbacks from when they actually close deals would be really cool. Also, we could, I think there are like the TE Academy model and supporting the TE Academy would be really interesting. There are a lot of DAOs that we could request funding from to do work with and partner with. I think there was a idea not so long ago that was like, using partnerships with other DAOs that have better funding sitting there because they just printed the money, and that we, basically have someone to use that we would use their funds to advance token engineering, right? But and we would help support and guide it, but they would actually fund us to do that work, and trying to be more of a appreciating the scarcity of our funding, which will be appreciated directly by conviction voting. So the thing that we don't have to worry about, honestly, is running out of money. It's just going to be really harder and harder to get money out. And so that restriction will happen on itself. We will never run out of money. That's the cool thing with conviction voting. There'll always be some money sitting there if we need it, but it gets harder and harder to get very much out. So, if we do a good job of finding some projects to keep the funding flowing, and if we also promote buying our token, to members, and making the token have some kind of privileges with it, right? Like you can only access our Discord if you have this token. We'll only work with you if you're holding these tokens, these sorts of things. And then that, of course, just by doing that, the exit and entry tributes come into play. So, yeah, Ryder.
For me, I'm a really I definitely wanted to go after you, Griff, so I didn't forget this point. But request funds from other DAOs. I also am seeing, and one of the most exciting things that I've wanted to see is on the ground grassroots communities coming into DAO space and wanting to find education and learning and enter. Like they're already decentralized. And they want to find out how to do that and to have a token and kind of launch their mission also virtually. And some of these folks also have money. And so I don't want to leave them out. I want to also think about people who want to come and learn token engineering, already have a strong cultural build on the ground and are trying to enter DAO space, and the money that they have from their sources. That is not always, huge, but sometimes they are. And that's really cool that there are value line folks coming in with their own. Yeah. So yeah, that was all I wanted to add for now. Just like a little addendum. I think we think about DAOs a lot as in people who are starting in virtual space. And I'm really into that really cool trade of here's the technical solutions that we're coming up with. Here's how to build a token, and them coming in with their funding from whatever, the Democratic Party or something.
Can I just add something quick, Tim? Just an example of what Griff said. I think it happened now with the reward system research group. That was really cool. So the TEC is a case partner, but we are the only ones that are not paying for the service. And we requested funds from Ocean DAO, Gnosis, and Near, and we got funds from all of them. And they are going to benefit from so much of the research that started here. And we are going to benefit from the funds that they're bringing. So there's this feedback loop that exemplifies what Griff was talking about.
Thank you so much for saying that, Livia, because I did not know that. And I'm involved in those things.
How much money did we score for that?
$60K.
So and how much money, we didn't even have to pass a proposal. Basically, we had you as a steward, and so you would be getting your steward payments, right? But you brought in $60K worth of, money to advance token engineering.
Yeah, because it's a value that will be like it's a shared value for everyone. And that's exactly what you said, like touching on the abundant sources. And our source is not even like there yet to bring funds, but probably this would be something that enhances the value of our token because so much of the thought leadership is also coming from here in TA Academy that is connected to the teaching.
We haven't heard from, go ahead, Ryder. We just haven't heard from Zep and Wonka yet, so I'd like to give them some space to add as well, but go ahead.
Livia, thank you so much. What Livia said, though, is huge, and I want to write it all down. Like, I want to make a case study of how you got that 60K and show what's possible so we have more people in a position to do that.
Angela did that, by the way. She deserves all the credit.
Who did? Angela? Crap. Okay.
So Zep, do you want to share any thoughts you might have?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add, but I was thinking maybe like like we have like all our reserve on XDAI, and then we cannot create XDAI. Like if we had like TC, and then like when we are using a lot of funds, maybe like the price of TC goes down, but that's okay because like the economy is more centered on TC and not I mean, I don't have much to add on what we were on the topic we were talking, but yeah, that's one thing like all these economies were asking money from them is because they have their own token, and their own token is printing money, right? But if we have GrapidXDAI, we cannot print money, so it's I don't know. Yeah, just throwing it out. Pass it to Juan.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna sleep on this idea of how can we, make revenue activities. But I completely agree that we have a group of experts in so much different areas that and that we are creating a lot of value, and we need to shout that idea. And I don't have any more to say.
Okay, that was excellent. Really a lot of food for thought and some good ideas and new perspectives and, things that are out of the box too. So that was very cool to hear. Any closing ideas or thoughts on this before we move on to the, go Chewy.
I just thought of something. Maybe like participating in events and more events like the Taoist. I mean, we probably couldn't like go through the same thing that ETHCC was, but maybe start talking about who's attending Denver. Try to look for something there. Just like get more involved in Griffith. Yeah, Griffith's definitely gonna be there. Or just like being more present and involved in real life events. And maybe at some point like considering even like sponsoring some smaller events like the Taoist or something that can be out there, like putting together a proposal for sponsoring one of these events could be like really like minimal compared to the benefits that there could be. So that's I'm so happy I could throw something in.
Yeah. Cool. And then, of course, there's like with your band of creatives, this whole idea that we've never really gotten off the ground of like merch, amazing merch, like tracksuits and crazy cool things that are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but it's kind of a donation to a good cause as well as like a slick tracksuit, Cool. Okay. Thanks, everyone, for that excellent exercise. We have 10 minutes left, and I'd really love to hear some feedback on. Okay, Eduardo, go ahead, please.
No. This is just a small question after you end the agenda. So that's it.
Okay. I shared the funding proposal for the Stewards Working Group. And, there's a lot of decisions that I sort of took and tried to understand and justify. I'd love to be able to post this on the forum to get the community advice process as well. Have people had a chance to look it over yet? Probably not. But can I ask for some feedback on it, and especially the numbers? And you can jump to the source if you want to go in and see how these numbers came about. Actually, as well, I've worked with 3 different kinds of low, medium, and low scenarios. We try to put together something. Yeah.
I guess Olivia, what are the latest thoughts on how much you're expecting to reward every month or something like that for for the reward board project?
We're discussing a percentage inside of what we ask already for the rewards. So it would basically be like a reward system inside of the reward system. So off the total amount, the people that are in the board would receive a percentage that I think we settled at like 2%, just a draft number. And then the quantifiers would have 10% of the total because they're going to be like more people. And then all the rest would be divided between source cred and praise. So the people wouldn't have a fixed amount, but a percentage of the amount we settle on every time we make a proposal.
What do you mean settle on when you make a proposal?
Like we'll have to make a proposal for the TC at some point when the initial buy-in funds run out. So from that total supply that we have from that proposal from the TC, a percentage of that would go to praise, to source cred, to quantifiers, and to committee members.
But how much do you think would go, like of this 80K at least, how much is going to go per month or per any time period?
That's what it's hard to say now because we have a very, like, we don't know how much the TEC token will be valued, and we want to settle on an amount for like RepDexDai. But then we want to, so we're gonna ask RepDexDai and then transfer to TEC tokens, and that's what we're gonna have in the treasury, the TEC tokens. So maybe the amount we'll ask will last for longer or for less time because we have a base on the stable.
So do you have any estimate, like how many months have there been since our hatch and we stopped doing praise, and then how many months are you looking to go forward? It's like 3 months forward or something?
I think we had 5 months since the hatch, something like that. I don't know, it's a long time, and we have the funds now for 6 months. So we're thinking 80K to last for 6 months of funds, but that is a very low rate. Like the meme would come up, as an alert.
So let's say that it goes to 100K and we're doing it 12 months. So then we would give out like 8K at around 8K a month in rewards.
What, 100K 12 months? No, 80K would be 6 months. So 160K
but we
would be 12.
We're in debt, praise debt, right?
Praise that, yeah. So if 80 lasts 6 months, it's like about 12 per month.
Yeah, but if we have praise debt, that's coming out of the 80, right?
Yeah, it's coming out of the 80. So what we're trying to do is just set a low number there. So make the 80 last for a little longer than 6 months. And that's what we need to talk with the community to see if people are okay about that, or if it sounds really unfair, or like what are the expectations that we're all thinking about.
Cool. Well, just from what I really want is an estimate of amount per month so I can judge this proposal, right? So I'm just going to say that the 80K turns into 100K, and then we divide it by 12 and say that 6 months of debt, praise debt, and then 6 months forward. So that's like $8K a month, and maybe half of that's going to stewards, maybe less.
Half of that going to the stewards. Oh, you mean like stewards being praised and part of that, and then having that deduction?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not a deduction. It's just like, okay, let's be aware of how much stewards will get from a reward system, and then look at this proposal and say, oh yeah, it makes sense or not.
Yeah, I know this is a terrible answer, but I don't think we're gonna have any idea until we have this first font.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I built this around too, like that level of uncertainty, not knowing that yet. And there are some assumptions actually that, there are working group coordination leads that aren't participating in these sort of like coordination. So those are not going to actually be counted. So if you are a working group that's participating in the coordination activities and all those events, that's an extra 10 hours, 15 hours a week. So then there makes sense to have a sort of a compensation there. And that the stewards and working group coordination leads are going to be participating and compensated by other working groups as well. So this is not going to be the only compensation that they receive. So there's that as well. I actually think I added 2 extra stewards and 1 additional working group because I think the rewards working group is probably going to launch before we hit the commons upgrade. We'll probably see a few more stewards. And then I factored in a small budget for special projects, really small. I think it's actually, I think it was 2K, I think is what I ended up with per month. So, if you actually take this out, it would be like a monthly burn of 13K just for the stewards and coordination needs. So just for those efforts. And it's, I looked at it, it's like, it's $750 a month, but it's this $173, a week, which is about 17 DAI an hour. It's not a luxurious amount. Is sort of what I mean to express by that. And the same thing for stewards is about $11 an hour. If you expect somebody's going to have to work, 10, 15 hours in order to maintain their steward activity. What else can I say about it? So it's 8 coordination leads and 14 stewards, even though we're at 7 and 12 right now. This thing is probably not going to be that controversial at all. The other things I want to get some feedback in. Oh, we're at the top of the hour. Shoot. I'll hold off posting this to the forum until tomorrow, if that's okay. If anyone thinks that anyone wants to jump in, this is really what I want us to align on. This proposal that will do something like, hey, I was a steward for this month and here's the few things I did. This is what I'm asking. The idea is like, if somebody's posting on the forum every month for their, not on the forum, excuse me, on our stewards channel, they're active, they're present, they're seen, they're here. The idea is like they're saying, I'm here, this is what I've done. So it's a little bit of mutual accountability and transparency sort of all together. So I like the idea of actually us having to say on our Discord channel, hey, this is what I'm asking for. This is what compensation for the steward role is this month. I'm asking for it. And then somebody will go around, capture all of those and do the distributions.
Cool. One thing I want to add is the dashboard, if not already, at least for sure tomorrow, it'll have this thing where you can actually select your own conviction voting proposal. So you can put 45K and see how it'll interact with different systems. So then you can see the difference of like how many tokens would need to sit behind that proposal and for how long to pass
That's
it.
going to be awesome. That's really exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I want to make a really, really quick public service announcement. Probably some of you have heard about like the whole discussion around the XDAI and Gnosis merge, but they are going to have a call at, I think, 8 p.m. UTC, 9 p.m. CET. But they want to focus the purpose of this call in protocols and businesses that are in XDAI. So if there's anyone interested, please send me a DM and I'll send you the Google Meet link where we're meeting. So regardless, I'm going to follow on that and keep everybody posted about how it evolves.
Cool. Thanks, Joey.
Right.
Thanks, Joey.
Bye, everyone.